all these fancy talk. Raise your hands, bend your elbows, see if you can clap. That's good. That was good, Ryan. But I think we can, okay? We're gonna clap harder. You're gonna imagine you just watched a concert of your favorite artist, your kid performing, I don't know, a wedding ceremony that made you cry, whatever. Let's think of something really, really amazing. And when I say 1, 2, 3, we're gonna clap really harder. We're also going to use our vocal cords and say, woohoo! Let's do that. Can we do that? Let's start. Alright. So this is not done, okay? Now I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3 because I want to make a recording here, okay? 1, 2, 3, let's go! Presentation is done.
That's false advertising.
That is the illusion of AI. I have a video recording. I can put it on LinkedIn. I can make something and say, awesome job. People were hearing now because I did an amazing job. So let's see if it works. Okay, what we're gonna do today, I want to see you all. Andrea, am I too far from you? I'm going to get my steps in play. Alright, so we'll talk portfolio, processes, people, risks, everything that you've been talking about in this conference. Maybe, I don't know, 30 other conferences that you attended this year. On average, those many conferences happen. You may have been doing this for, I don't know how many years. On average, collective, around 200 people, average 10 years of experience. That's a lot of hours. Why is all of these simplistic sounding things a challenge? The first time ever when humans started writing, so when they learned how to write, in Mesopotamia, anybody familiar with Mesopotamia and the civilization and the history of Sumerians? Alright. 5,000 years ago, in a region above Afghanistan, between Iran and Iraq, there were 2 rivers. And there was land in between those 2 rivers, which was very fertile. So there was trade happening, there were religions forming. Because when you have people, you have to have a way to structure and organize people into something, right? So religions started doing that. They were building huge temples, there was a lot of trade happening. There were ships going out, venturing, buying grains, getting fabrics, I don't know, sheep, goats, whatever. There were businessmen who had portfolios, and there's cuneiform tablets. These are clay tablets, not your iPad tablets, but they had these pens, styluses, and they documented what did they order on each of these ships. So if they had grains coming on one ship, sheep on another, they had a portfolio that they managed because they wanted to hedge that when one ship goes or gets caught in the storm, pirates, I don't know, somebody decides to steal the ship. How do you manage your portfolio so you have something that you can receive in return when the ships come back? I should have had a glass of water. Too late. Then, risks. When you have portfolios, you obviously need to manage risks because you've invested money, and the biggest risk. Any guesses, Sumerians? What was the biggest risk for them? Thank you. Any guesses?
Drought?
Weather. Weather.
Okay, 1. Anything else? The
taking
biggest risk.
Not taking this is the biggest risk.
No, they didn't figure that out. No, I think for them the biggest risk was the ship not coming back. Right? They chickened money, and the way they hedged those bets was if this was a rich guy sitting here, and he said, I'm going to give you money because there is a ship going, and if you get grains, you can sell it or give it to the temple and make a lot of money off it. The contract between me and him, when it was signed as somebody getting those grains or sheep on the ship, was that if the ship comes back, then I'll pay you. So that's how they were hedging bets, because there was no control over whether the ships are going to be back or not. It's a similarly organized process. You have large temples, a lot of people coming together, food, grains, supplies, trade happening. You need to organize your work, organize your people. Temples are being built. There's thousands of people working. How do you structure what time people start working? What time do they have lunch? What grains to feed? What time does milling start? What time do you bake breads? So all of that was going on. This is all 5,000 years ago, okay? Same with resource planning. The next slide that I have is about data and how humans started to use data to do predictions. Any idea who did that and when? Take a guess. All right. Go on, guys. Humor me. Who? Babylonians. So, did you say Arcadians? Archimedes. You're right now. No. So, 2000 later, so you had these clay tablets being stored in the temples. There were scribes that were reading them. But it took about 2000 years for the Acadians, and these are the smart people now in the US known as Jews. They started reading these tablets, and based on the documented evidence of whatever they had in terms of data, they were making predictions on rainfall, on crops, on celestial movements, and all of that. Okay. So why the heck is Rishi here talking about all of this historical context, right? This is a picture of the 95% of you with your head held. The reason is, well, and this also happens to be, oh, I have to make the connection to AI. So this also happens to be the number MIT conduct. Oh, shit. Oh my God, technology. So did anybody watch the Grok 4 launch video that the geniuses of AI did, Elon Musk? Did you watch, anybody watch that video of the launch? So here was Elon with 4 of his like top geniuses, and they're presenting Grok 4 models. Validation, this is amazing, and level 4, and it's better than OpenAI, blah, blah, blah. Next slide. This. Next slide. Somebody was clicking the slides for them. You have, if I was Elon Musk, I would have had somebody clicking the slides without me having to say that. Right? Like you can create an illusion, but he didn't do that, so that's a fallacy. So MIT conducted a study where they found out that apparently 95% of the AI projects, they failed to deliver value. And obviously this study was very detailed, a lot of detailed information, challenges. But what that tells me is, and a lot of pharma companies investing in AI, we've been talking AI left, right, and center for I don't know how many years. How many of you on a daily basis are actually using AI to do anything meaningful in your organization? I'm not talking about ChatGPT or creating presentations, something meaningful in your organization. And if you're on the clinical side, you might be, all right, so there's disclaimers. But anyone using AI? Okay. So what is the challenge with AI? Portfolio management, decision making, risks, anything else that we care about. The problem is, as human beings, we are a pain in the ass. When you identify a risk, and I know a lot of people have talked about this, a risk for me versus that same risk for you is a completely different animal. How do you measure as an organization a risk that is going to mean the same thing for everyone? The leaders change, the risk appetite changes, market dynamics change, the risk appetite. So there's like so many other factors because of which you cannot have a straight line calculation that is based on only data that is limited and not clean, right? So you have to be very thoughtful in how you approach. And if for 5,000 years, somehow, and 30 workshops every year, if we are still doing this, then there's something fundamentally wrong, right? I'm not saying I have any answers, okay? No answers, but there is something wrong, right? We'll figure it out one day. So what I want to talk to you about is one of the CEOs went AI route and said, oh, I have an organization I need to implement AI, and I want to reduce headcount, make efficiency, build productivity. So they came to us, they said, everybody's doing AI, we want to do AI. This is not a pharma company, it is a pharma research company. So they work for large pharma, they conduct all sorts of market research. So he said, do you want to do AI? I said, yeah. Okay, we'll ask you some questions. Because we are not bought into the idea is that any conversation should start with AI first. Right? What are you trying to solve for? So well, we started talking, they said, okay, we have this, everything that you see here. I'm sure you guys don't connect with us because I don't think you have any of these problems. They did. So we said, okay, it seems like AI is not the problem. You have some fundamental challenges that you're dealing with, and there might be better ways to do work. So, he said, okay, fair enough, help us implement AI or automation or whatever you want to call it, but I want to do something that's going to make our organization effective. So we conducted a detailed survey and dig deeper into their process. The way they are structured as an organization from a process standpoint is there are essentially two major things going on. And by the way, these red and orange colors, not because I like sunsets or sunrises, I do like them, but this is essentially to show that all of the processes in what they do within an organization are very, very manual. They are redundant with back and forth, people creating things in Word document, writing questions, those questions going into some sort of a PowerPoint, data gets collected. It is all manual, and people are just going back and forth, back and forth. They don't have a clean data to look at. They don't have a structured way to look at what was created in the past for that knowledge to be leveraged to do something in the future. So it was full of redundancies and manual interactions, which was complete pain in the ass. And the problem was, as a portfolio, the CEO, all right, so another thing. When we were in these workshops trying to identify their pain points, after a certain point in the conversation, the CEO says, we had the FT team and I don't know, 15, 20 people in the room. He says, Ken, you, step out. There were 4 people left in the room, 3 Atlas, 1 CEO. So he says, listen, I think this makes sense. And if you bring automation, forget AI for a second, but if you bring automation, I think I'm looking at headcount reductions. And what else? Like how to, and productivity gains. I said, listen, that's all good. But what you did just now, by having those people walk out of the room, is you've set the tone that there's something that is going on which is going to lead you to make a change in the organization. These might be your best people. They may feel threatened only because of this one action. And if as a CEO, you don't set the tone right in your organization, is your intent to save cost or do you want to grow revenue? So I obviously want to grow revenue, I want to make more margins. So I said, then you cannot have an environment where you have consultants sitting in the room and you send your LT team out. So what that did was we made up a story. The LT came back and the story was that he had to tell Atlas to present things differently. So we made up a story, we made everybody look good. But what we recognized is that in all of their processes, one of the reasons why they were having challenges with identification and solving for the risks was because people were afraid, even though they may have, so it's like the traditional, right? If your project is yellow or red, you don't want to go in front of the leadership because you have to do explaining. But if your leadership empowers you to go red and yellow, because they say, look, if you're going into yellow, I want to help you. I don't want to question you of why the heck this is going wrong. I'll first try to solve for the problem, then identify long-term fixes, and then we can be better as an organization. So that's what we decided to do with this group of people. And we said, we'll establish a production management process, which is all people-led, backed by data, but having an organizational culture where you are able to talk and reflect upon risks. Okay? So all of these red, please memorize this slide, including the size of the circles, because the size is the amount of effort, number of hours that you are spending, and the colors are to do with the complexity and the back and forth. This is the new process. In the new process, we're implementing siloed systems. How do you connect the siloed systems? Thank Lord for Microsoft Fabric. We have tools and technologies where you can easily connect siloed systems with the data that you need, not all the data, and it's easier to be done. So all of their initial manual processes that were based on looking for surveys, PDF documents, or Word documents, looking for questions, figuring out what should we add, what should we remove, and making sense with the typos, all the crap that was going on was solved with a very simple way of ingesting all of those surveys into a data platform where they could use generative AI to query and formulate the right questions that need to go out to HCPs, right? The second part of the process, which is once the surveys go out for fielding is, I'm sure everybody's familiar with fielding, but essentially it's surveys going out to the actual recipients of the research participants, where they respond to these surveys and those answers get collected, and the insights team, smart PhD people, not me, they respond with insights going back to the clients and say, okay, when we ask these questions to the HCPs, these are the answers that we got, and hence you should do X, Y, Z, right? So if you look in this new process, obviously there's a lot of efficiency, right? All the reds have become now green, magical new world, but this circle still seems to be the largest circle. And that is the whole idea behind AI, is you can use AI to help you clean things up, structure things up, but it can make a decision. The decisions of what recommendations need to go back to the clients are still with people. So that's why that circle is still large. That is a business model. That is why they hired the PhDs to do the insights and analysis and recommendations, not to sit and frame out PowerPoint slides, right? Okay, so where is AI in this? Oh, yeah, hang on, I forgot. Let me go back. So the production portfolio management, that's like everything that's kind of controlling everything that goes on in the organization, and this is to do with ensuring that there is a cadence of weekly meetings, looking at key risks, key issues, just traditional project management. You want to make sure that when you have a portfolio of people doing work, you have a way to keep them on track, and us human beings, we get lazy. You need somebody to keep you on track, ensure that the data that's required minimally is being captured. So there is effort in all of this, right? Otherwise, there's no magic for the data to automatically get not only created, but be maintained on its own, right? So that's the production portfolio management process. So in terms of AI, we're doing on time. Okay. So this essentially shows, so we have a framework. So we have a thinking around how you implement AI for AI to be able to do something meaningful in your organization structures. And the way we approach AI implementation, we have a platform. The platform is, think of a box. We come into your organization, we keep the box in your organization, the data, the training of that model all stays in that box, and we never take it out of that box. It stays with you. So for the pharma clients, it is very important that their data doesn't go out. In their case, they also have IP because all of their research is also productized. So we want to make sure we don't do any of that. So what we do is, in terms of the foundational intelligence, the step one that we did was we implemented an AI LLM, OpenAI based, in their environment. We went through a long process of identifying what were their internal procedures, SOPs, work instructions, how do you create surveys, anything to do with foundational knowledge about how the organization functions, so that if a new person walks in, or even if there was an existing person trying to find the latest SOP in like a million versions where you have _date, _time, _month, by name and edits with the comments, whatever that is, right? So we implemented an LLM trained with the final documents. So we went through a process to say, look, you can't put everything in the world here. It's going to get diluted in terms of what it's trying to say. Step one, Our project team used this LLM because now we understand their processes. It's easier for us to execute, right? We don't have to go asking questions to everyone. Step 2 is where you start adding agents. If I die today, it was still a good presentation. So the second step is now adding agents. You have organizational process well understood, people know what they're doing, they know what data needs to be captured. How do you add the next level of intelligence for the AI to be able to do something meaningful? Here, the best use case for them is they have these surveys that they create. AI is phenomenal with language. So it reads, so this agent, it reads all the historical surveys, gets the latest context of what the survey scenario is, creates a recommendation of a survey automatically, and the insights lead, they review it, they say, yep, survey looks good, you can send it. So that's the second agent. All it does is it only reads surveys, historical, and creates new surveys. Does not know anything about SOPs, does not know anything about the processes. We do not want to dilute. And the key in any LLM or AI product to work successful is the context. The more data you give it, it's going to get worse. So the whole idea about just giving more data and then trying to get something magical, I think is a fallacy. You have to be very deliberate in what data and what you're training the models on for you to get effective outputs. Okay. Then we have next agent. This is the next iteration of their processes, where when they create surveys and when they go into a system, there's a hyperlink that needs to be checked, there's some testing, so we have protocols, we build those protocols, so when they create the surveys, they're already tested. It also connects to Power BI. When you start receiving responses from the research participants, you're able to synthesize those responses, and Power BI sits on top of this to create beautiful visuals with some recommended insights that get exported as a PowerPoint. So all of their journey of gathered data, review, analysis, it's all taken away because it's already being done with this AI. It goes into the final PowerPoint presentation, and that's where the insights lead then actually work and say, okay, I need this adjusting, that adjusting, and that's how they maintain the data. The last piece, we're not there yet, but the vision is that you'll have a connected environment where now that you have all the data coming in, all the agents orchestrating together to do the QC, to do the validation, creating these beautiful outputs for the clients, confirmed, validated by the insights lead, can then be productized for HCPs to engage directly, for pharma companies to engage directly. So this is where we'll be building products, because now you have a connected environment and you can build more products and be commercially more viable. So that's essentially what we're doing. Any questions? Do we need another set of exercise? Okay. All right, so recap. And I actually have a slide at the end, which I'm not gonna go through, but that's like, I don't wanna say framework. It's like a guide of how do you kind of ensure that you're asking the right questions in the end. If you don't ask the right questions, you will not be able to determine what the risk is, what the challenge is, what resources are needed, what are you trying to solve for. If you don't ask the right questions, so that we have like a guide that we follow to say, hang on a minute, before you say, I want to do this, why, right, and what's the benefit? So the first one is, you always start with foundations. You have to define the problems first, what you want to solve for, and then get into the solution. Let's not jump in with the technology just because it's cool. Everybody in the room was talking about it, and I'm not doing it. So that's a fallacy. Like, you don't. You first need to really understand what the problem is, because some of these problems have never been solved. The second is you have to build operational maturity, right? If today your organization is dysfunctional, if the data doesn't talk to each other, people don't follow governance, leadership is not bought into the processes, you don't understand your products well, you don't understand your markets well, then there is a likelihood that AI cannot do anything here meaningful, right? You have to have the business foundation set first. AI can help you maybe pinpoint something as a generalist but it's not gonna give you anything meaningful. We heard somebody did a presentation using AI and then they had to redo it because I think it was bad prompting. The fundamental of what we do, if you remember the graphic with those green circles, our intent was not to replace human beings. The decisions about what insights or the business, what it needs to do for their clients, those decisions will always need to stay with humans. And that should be the intent. One, because I don't want to lose my job, and I don't want AI killing us all. So the intent should always be to augment AI as a co-author, co-intelligence, co-collaborator, co-friend, whatever it is, but it has to empower us to be better and not kind of say, you know what, AI is gonna do it all. It's not been doing it all. I've been hearing this for a long time. Okay, and that's it.
Thank you, Rishi.